Hello everyone, welcome to today's session. So, see, in last session we covered professional ethics and liabilities of the auditor in detail. Okay, so just for the revision purpose and just to cover the questions of that particular topic also. Let's see a few questions on this topic, professional ethics and liability of the auditor, and then we will shift to the today's topic, that is the quality control. Okay, now on your screen, you already have a question. Okay, so let's see this question. Mr. Sunil was appointed statutory auditor of Manpreet Autotech Limited after Mr. Ram resigned from the position of auditor on 31/7/2022 for the financial year 22-23. Mr. Sunil received the appointment letter duly signed by the Board of Directors and the resolution of the Audit Committee recommending the name of Mr. Sunil to the board. Mr. Sunil received the letter of appointment on 31/7/2022, which he accepted on 1/8/2022. On 15/8/2022, Mr. Sunil fixed a meeting with Mr. Ram to understand the reason for his resignation and any concern he should be aware about the company. Prior to this, no communication happened between Ram and Sunil. The board of Manpreet Autotech Limited filed ADT1 with the registrar within 31/8/2022. Mr. Sunil, after performing the audit, issued the audit report on 31/5/2023. After the report was issued, the registrar suo motu initiated an inquiry regarding the appointment of Mr. Sunil as the auditor of the company. After the inquiry, registrar issued a report to the ICAI wherein it was mentioned that Mr. Sunil should be held guilty of professional misconduct. Kindly guide Mr. Sunil with respect to the recommendations of registrar for him being the guilty of professional misconduct. So first of all, identify what is wrong in this scenario. What is wrong? Good, Salesh. What is wrong in this scenario? Come on, guys. Understand the question and try to see what went wrong here. What is the problem in this whole scenario? Try to look at the problem basically. Come on, guys. See the problem here. Okay. Look how the transaction, how the communication and everything has worked, and how the things are working. For example, when who was appointed auditor, when who resigned, and why the registrar is saying that Mr. Sunil should be held guilty of professional misconduct. Good, Viraj. Very good. Why? Charu, Viraj, Salesh, there is something more to this. There is something more. Okay. For your sake, as you are guys saying, okay. So, one is that he should be guilty of professional misconduct because of clause 8 of part 1, first schedule. Okay. So, you are saying this should be the case? Agree. He should be guilty of professional misconduct for clause 8, part 1, first schedule. So I agree with that, that should be the case. But other than that, there should be something else. What is that? So there should be something else. There is something else. You need to understand that what is that something else here. Come on, guys, come on. Good, Salish, very good. What is the requirement in case of the resignation of the auditor as per the Companies Act? What is the requirement? What is the requirement with respect to the resignation of the auditor and filling up the casual vacancy? Think. What is the requirement? No idea? Requirement in case of casual vacancy and the resignations, in case of Companies Act. Anyone? See, In case of companies, with respect to the provisions of Companies Act, there is a provision section 138, 139(8). Okay, section 139(8), which deals with the casual vacancy. Now, this section says that in case of a company other than the company whose accounts are subject to audit by auditor to be appointed by CMAG, like government company. In case of company other than government company, okay, the casual vacancy shall be filled by the board of directors within 30 days. That is fine. But if the casual vacancy is a result of the resignation of an auditor, then such appointment shall also be approved by the company at the general meeting within 3 months of the board, and he shall hold office till the conclusion of next AGM. Okay, so here in this case there is no board meeting, and still he is issuing audit report. So the auditor issued audit report without ascertaining and accepted the appointment without ascertaining whether the requirements of section 139 and section 140 of the Companies Act are complied with or not. Number two, so for company is required to inform about the appointment, okay, with the registrar within 15 days. Within 15 days. Okay, so as per the rule 4, also you can say as per section 139, read with rule 4, the notice to the registrar for the appointment of the auditor, okay, shall be in form ADT 1, and that should be within 15 days of the meeting in which the auditor is appointed. Here it is appointment is shared with the registrar on 31/8/2022, whereas it was signed by 1/8/2022. So it is after 15 days, like more than 15 days, means there was a still non-compliance. In this case, the requirements of section 139 were not looked into by the auditor. So along with clause 8, there will be one more clause, that is clause 9, part 1, first schedule. And he will be held guilty for that also. Anything else you guys think that could be here? Anything else? Okay. Are you clear with this answer? Anyone has any other comments or questions on this? So there is a comment or question kind of. If we give half answer right, will we get the half mark? See, that again depends upon the question that it is there. So let's say, for example, if the question requires 4 correct points and you give 2 correct points, yes, you will get the half marks. But the point is that the answer that you are giving should be correct and appropriate, and to that extent which is required in the question. So, for example, I'll tell you a hypothetical example. If a question requires 5 correct answers, 5 correct points, and you give 2 or 3 correct answer, but not that much correct. So, let's say there is the clarity missing. There are some few things missing. You have written partial portion of the provision or something like that. So there are chances that you might not get the marks. So whatever you have written, if that is accurate, that is correct, yes, you will get the marks for that particular portion. But if you are saying that, okay, my answer that or that particular point is incomplete. Let's say, for example, I'm talking about a provision where is the number of days mentioned. Okay. And there is something else mentioned. So while writing the provision, I missed out the number of days and you reach to a different conclusion. In that case, no, you might not get the marks because you quoted the provision in an incorrect way, which led you to reach an incorrect conclusion. So you cannot say that, okay, I have written the provision, half of the provision correct, but half incorrect. No. So you need to see how you are, writing your answer and on which conclusion you are reaching to. Any doubts, guys? Any questions? No? Okay. Let's proceed to the next question then. Mr. Sundar was appointed statutory auditors of Anand Mills Private Limited. While auditing the company, Board of Directors proposed Mr. Sundar an idea for the startup. Mr. Sundar acknowledged the idea and suggested to start a company where Anand Mills and he can be the shareholder. Anand Mills and he will be shareholders and they can work on the startup. Mr. Sundar started Online Mills Private Limited, wherein they introduced an application through which they can rent unused mills across India to anyone. And Anand Mills Private Limited and Sundar became equal shareholders. At the end of the year, Mr. Sundar issued an audit report for Anand Mills Private Limited on 31/5/2023. Mr. Sundar also filed a tax return for Online Mills Private Limited. During the search by the income tax authorities, it was identified that Mr. Sundar is an equal shareholder as Anand Mills Private Limited, whose he was also statutory auditor. Income tax authorities held that Mr. Sundar was guilty of professional misconduct. Kindly guide Mr. Sundar. So, what do you think about this arrangement that is being done by Mr. Sundar and Anand Mills Private Limited? They together came being an equal shareholder and started a startup, Online Mills Private Limited. Do you think there is any issue in this? It's a separate new company, it's a startup where they are only equal shareholders. That's it. Come on, guys. What do you think? What is the problem? Okay, Salish, good. What do you think, guys? What is the problem here? Come on, quickly. What is the problem? What do you think is the problem in this scenario? What do you think is a problem in this scenario? It should be pretty easy. Come on, guys. It should be pretty easy. Think that question is there in exam. How will you deal with this question? How will you deal with this question if this question is in exam? What you will do if this question is in the exam? But under which clause, which part, which section? That is important to understand. That is important to write. Come on, guys. Okay. Good, Yukta. Correct. Correct, Charu. Correct, Viraj. Okay, let us see in a more structured way. Let's go to our notes that we prepared for so that we can refer to that summary at any point in time. So in our summary, like we focus on clause 4. Clause 4 says if a chartered accountant in practice enters into a partnership with any person other than member of ICAI or specified person. Now, if when we discuss this clause 4, we discuss that specified persons are members of professional body having such qualifications whose qualifications are recognized. So if he enters into a partnership inside or outside India with any person other than the mentioned below, then he is guilty of professional misconduct. Number one. Okay. Number two, somewhere down the line, we also looked into permitted businesses for chartered accountant. Okay. Which are the things where chartered accountant can engage? In a chartered accountant practice engages in any business or occupation other than the profession of a CA. Okay. And we saw special resolution, general resolution. But again, engaging in another business wherein full-time activity, occupation other than practice. Okay. So you need to take a special permission for that. One of the area is there. So you need to take a special permission for the business where you are engaging in other than the practice, providing other kind of business services. Okay. So that is there. Regulation 190. Remember we discussed. Plus over and above that, CA in practice expressing opinion on substantially interested entities. Okay. Now the question comes is whether this will be counted as substantial interested entity or not. So that will be the next question that we will be having. Okay. So to answer all these things, okay. So we know that for sure, clause 4 of part 1 of first schedule will be attractive. Reason because entering into a partnership which is with the unspecified person or person which are not allowed. So that is something I say, okay, that will be there. Clause 4, part 1, first schedule. That is there for sure. Now coming to the area where I was talking about clause 9. Okay, special permission or general permission. Now, in that, if you see the general permission categories which were there, it is nowhere mentioned about the other activities, businesses. Okay, but in special resolution, special permission, if you are into full-time or part-time employment in a business concern, provided that the relators do not hold substantial interest in that, or full-time, part-time employment in a non-business concern. Okay, if you are holding a office of managing director or whole-time director, in that case, again you need to take a special permission. But here the special permission is not there. Special permission has not been taken. So I could say that, okay, he can be also guilty under clause 11 of part 1 of first schedule. Okay. Now comes where he is expressing his opinion on an entity where he is interested. Okay. So at that particular point in time, when I say that Mr. Sundar is interested substantially, then only I could say, okay, he is not allowed to express opinion. Now, what is substantially interested? That is very critical to understand in the current scenario. Okay. Substantially interested is, as we discussed in the last time, that where the member, his firm, his partner or relative has a substantial interest in the business or enterprise. Okay. And substantial interest means that that where the person or where the member, his partner or his relative is a director or employment or an office of the company. Okay. Where he is holding a position in the company as a director, officer or employee, or where you can say the relative of the member is a director or is in employment, or you can say where the relative of the member is holding any securities or interest in the company. Okay. Or otherwise you can say where the member is holding more than 20% of the voting right in the company. Now we need to understand whether the member is holding 20% or more of the voting right or not. That is very critical to understand, because that will define whether I can attract clause 4 or not. So when I say 20% of more of voting right in the company where he is expressing opinion, means he should have 20% or more voting right in Anand Mills Private Limited in the current scenario. Okay, Anand Mills Private Limited, but he is having 20% or more voting right in Online Mills, which is subsidiary of the Anand Mills, which is a subsidiary of the Anand Mills. So can I say that by the virtue of this, he is holding 20% or more in the Anand Mills through Online Mills? That will not be correct, because Anand Mills is a holding company. He is not holding any share in Anand Mills. He is holding in a subsidiary of that company. Okay. So he is holding 20% voting rights in the subsidiary, not in the holding company. If it was an I would have said, okay, if he was holding 20% voting rights in the holding company, then I would have said, okay, now holding company has a voting rights again in the subsidiary. So by that indirect way, he's holding something in this subsidiary company. But here, he's holding something in the subsidiary company itself from day one, not from the holding company. So that's why we need to understand, okay, he is not as of now interested in the Anand Mills Private Limited. First thing. Second thing, we need to see the requirements of the Companies Act with respect to eligibility and diseligibility. Section 141 of the Companies Act. Okay. Now, Section 141 of the Companies Act says that, okay, that a person who directly, indirectly renders any services referred in Section 144 to the company or its holding or its subsidiary, that person will not be eligible for the appointment of the auditor. Now, those such other service includes accounting, internal audit, design and implementation of financial information system, actuarial, investment advisory, investment banking, outsourced financial service, management services, and any other kind of services. Okay, like tax return. So here, Mr. Sundar is also filing tax return for Online Mills Private Limited. So he is kind of providing a service which is under Section 144 to the subsidiary of the holding company. In that case, I could say that he is not allowed, or he is disqualified to be appointed as an auditor. Means he did not verify the compliance with Section 139, 130 and 141 of the Companies Act. Okay, again, understand. Mr. Sundar, sorry, not Sunil, Sundar is holding 50% in Online Mills. Okay, and Anand Mills is holding the rest of 50%. So I cannot say that the Mr. Sunil is holding 50% in Anand Mills. Okay, let's take an alternate view, alternate example, hypothetical one. Let's say if it was that Online Mills was holding and subsidiary was Anand Mills. And if Mr. Sunil or Mr. Sundar, sorry, I don't know why I'm saying Sunil. Okay. But if Mr. Sundar was holding 50% in Online Mills, which was a holding company, then I could say that, okay, this Online Mills, Mr. Sunil is holding 50%, and let's say it was 100% here. So I could say by virtue of this arrangement, Mr. Sundar was holding indirectly 50% in Anand Mills. In that case, it would have been the case where Mr. Sundar was substantially interested in an audit client and clause 4 would have attracted. But here it is not the case. So this is not the case in the current scenario. In the current scenario, Online Mills is a subsidiary. Mr. Sundar does not have any interest in the Anand Mills. Again, Mr. Sundar does not have any interest in the Anand Mills. However, Mr. Sundar is providing service specified under Section 144 of Companies Act to subsidiary of holding company, or the company which is there, subsidiary of the company for which he is appointed the auditor. In that case, he is not eligible to be appointed as an auditor. He is not eligible to be appointed as an auditor. So he has not complied with the provisions of Section 141. Now you will say where it is written, sir, that he needs to see the compliance is 141. We discussed last time it was 140 and 139. Now from where 141 is coming? Okay, you will say now that okay, the clause which talks about section clause 9 of part 1 of first schedule talks about compliance with 139 and 140. Now why you are bringing 141? Correct? I am bringing 141 into the picture. Reason because section 139 1 itself says that our auditor has to provide a certificate whether he satisfies the criteria provided in 141 or not. So 139 talks about that you need to see the compliance with 141. So if you see if you have to comply with 139, indirectly you have to see 141. Means you are not complied with 139 of the Companies Act. In that case, he has not complied with 139, he has not complied with the 141, means he is guilty of professional misconduct under clause 9, part 1, first schedule. Just because of this particular thing, tax return. Understand that thing. A simple tax return is creating so much of a trouble for him. Any doubts? Any doubts? Any doubts? No? Okay. Let's see one more question. Interesting one. Mr. Sham wrote to Anand Mills Private Limited to include his name in the panels of internal auditors that he believed was being maintained by the company. The board of the company wrote back to Institute to take action against Mr. Sham for making roving inquiries, uh, which were not permissible under clause 6 of part 1 of first schedule of Chartered Accountants Act. Okay. Mr. Sham, in return, replied to the company and the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India that the clause 6 could be invoked only when he inquires about the work of statutory auditor and not in the case of internal auditor. Kindly guide Mr. Sham and the board of the company in the current scenario. So, Mr. Sham is saying that you can invoke clause 6 when he inquires about the statutory auditor, not about any other thing. But Anand Mills has filed a complaint with the institute that take actions against Mr. Sham for making such roving inquiries regarding panel of internal auditors. What do you think? Charu, can you rewrite your question? I have not received it. Come on, guys. What do you think? It is only for the stat auditor or it is for all? Clause 6. Mhm. What do you think? If yes, then why? Why do you think if he is inquiring about the internal auditors, it will be the scenario? Why do you think that, in this scenario, that internal auditors related thing will also be covered? Don't you think it should be only when he is asking for the statutory auditor? Think. Come on, guys. Good, Charu. Very good. Good, Mohammed. Salesh, you need to specify why you are saying that. What is the reason behind your answer? Come on, guys. Come on, quickly, guys. Okay, let me tell you. So, when I talk about clause 6, when I talk about clause 6, I talk about, okay, the clause 6 basically says that for any professional work. Remember in our notes also, when we written the notes, let me show you. See, when we were writing the notes, we have written that for any professional work, I have not restricted here to the statutory audit only. I'm saying any professional work. If I solicit client or professional work, okay, either directly or indirectly by these other means, then in that case, I will be held guilty of professional misconduct. In the current case, I am soliciting work of internal audit by, making roving inquiries. So the work is of internal auditors. Okay. If that is the case, then it is a professional work. It is not a non-professional work or something like that. In that case, yes, still clause 6 will apply because this is a professional work. And clause 6 covers all professional works. Number 2, its clause 6 is not restricted till statutory audit. Clause 6 is not restricted till statutory audit. That's why in this case, it will not, Mr. Sham will be guilty of professional conduct. So you can say conclusion, guilty of professional misconduct. Clear? Any doubt? Any doubt, guys? Okay. So there is one doubt. Charu, I'll take your doubt after this question. Okay. Don't worry. I received your doubt. I'll take your doubt after this question. So there is one doubt. Oh, there is one more question that I want to cover. Very good question, I would say. Yes. Now, this question which I am just discussing is kind of an alternate question to what we discussed just now. Okay, kind of a, you can say, alternate question to what we discussed just now. So let us see. Bit variation, you can say. Mr. Sham wrote to, again same, but with some variation. Mr. Sham wrote to Anand Mills Private Limited, an registered partnership firm, to include his name in the panel of tax advisors that he believed was being maintained by the partners. Mr. Sham wrote to the firm before seeing an advertisement, in the local newspaper where the firm mentioned that they were looking for a good professional who could provide tax advisor service to the firm. The partner wrote back to the institute to take actions against Mr. Sham for making such roving inquiries, which were not permissible as per the clause 6 of first schedule of Chartered Accountants Act. Mr. Sham in return then replied to the partners of the Institute of Chartered Accountants India that clause 6 could only be invoked when he inquires about the work of statutory auditor and not in the case of, it will be here, tax advisors. Okay, kindly guide Mr. Sham in the current scenario. Okay, so that is the case now. So you tell me whether Mr. Sham will be held guilty in the current scenario. Is it still the same or it's different? Read the question carefully and do let me know. So he is, asking for tax advisors, but Mr. Sham wrote to the firm before seeing an advertisement in the local newspaper. Before, okay, include his name in the panel of tax advisor. Now the firm is an unregistered partnership firm. Anand Mills became an unregistered partnership firm. Do you think this will change the answer? Guilty or not guilty? Okay, good Salish, good Pradeep. Why Shruti, with respect to your answer, can you provide in detail? Any some reason, like, why you think that will be the answer? Come on, guys. Let's understand the concept in detail. So this will, help you in understanding the concept in detail. Now here, Mr. Sham wrote to the firm before seeing an advertisement. There was an advertisement, but he wrote to the firm before seeing an advertisement in the local newspaper. Okay, good Salish. Good, Mohammed. Very good. Come on, guys. Correct, Charu. Very good. So, Sailesh, Mohammed, Charu, Shruti, Pradeep, just read the last line of this particular question. Last line of the question. What can you make out by that? Absolutely correct, Mohammed. Very good. Guys, the last line says he is only a certified tax accountant. Come on. Now, clauses are applicable in case of chartered accountant in practice. So, before jumping to any of the thing, you should see whether it is a CA in practice or not. That is the main thing that we forget to see. At times, I could say that, okay, he is a CA in employment. Okay, I could say something else. But in this scenario, I have said he's not a CA, he's a certified tax accountant. I have mentioned it, he's a chartered accountant. No. In that case, if he is not a chartered accountant in practice, any of such clause will not be applicable to him. Read the question till end with with providing each and every word, equal importance. Trust me, each and every word in the question carries equal importance and you should read. That's the problem. Like, whenever in exam, this question is just not for the purpose of, what do you say, practicing. This is the questions are these for the purpose of showing you that, okay, if you do the skimming or, you read some keywords in the question, this could happen. This could happen actually. And that's the biggest problem because when you focus on some keywords in the question in order to hurriedly answer a question, okay, you miss out a small detail, but that is a very critical detail that could change your answer drastically. So that you have to pay attention to each and every word. So whenever you are reading a question, take a minute, 2, 3. It will not take more than 3 minutes to read this question, trust me. But whenever you are reading a question, understand each and every word, with the detail. Okay, what it is written, what is the scenario, and what answer I have to give. Then you start thinking on that. But without understanding the scenario, okay, clause 6, chartered accountant made an roving inquiry, wrote to the firm before seeing an advertisement. Yes, he is guilty. With them, gone. Case over. Then in that case, our marks will also be over. Yeah. So, piece of advice, please read the question in detail with a calm mind. Take your time, a minute or two. Understand the question, what is being asked, what is the scenario, what are the details given in the question, and then answer. Sometimes what I used to do is, sometimes I used to read twice. Okay, once I wrote, okay, this is the understanding I have got. Again, I'll read from start. I'll say, okay, this is the understanding. At the second time also I have got and both are same. Fine. Double check. I'm sure now I can proceed with the answer. So, focus on details. And that's why I'd say, devil lies in the detail. So you have to focus on that. Now, there was one query with respect to the earlier question, that was clause 4, which restricts the partnership. Now, can we say that partnership includes the form of company? See, as of now, the clause, yes, says the partnership, but if you extend the application of the clause, like if you literally interpret partnership into a partnership, then it would not. But if you interpret like entering into a partnership kind of a arrangement where there is a fee sharing, okay. So if you see clause 3, where he accepts to any profit, or where agrees to pay any profit, part of the profits, okay. But if you read clause 4, it says that, subject to anything which is there in 2 and 3, which is fine. Partnerships in clause 4 are not allowed. So if you read in the literal sense, yes, partnership is a partnership. But if you read in a wider sense, partnership will include any kind of business that a chartered accountant is getting involved. So he is permitted to enter into an arrangement. Today it's a partnership, tomorrow it will be a registered firm. Okay, LLP. So would you say partnership will not include LLP? So any other form of corporate practice. So such kind of scenarios you are required to see into. So I'll say not interpret in a literal sense, word by word. Any question, guys? Any doubts with respect to any of the questions that we discussed? Any doubts? No? Okay, so after the lecture, kind of a homework for you guys. Practice more and more questions of this particular topic, professional ethics and liabilities of auditor. And in the next lecture, when we will be, like now we have still the lecture, but in the next also, you have to come back with the queries of this topic. Okay? Any doubt, guys? Any doubt? Yes, Salish, it will be both. Okay. So now coming back to the today's topic that was there. Okay. Quality control. Now you have a chapter 1 of quality control, which encompasses two different standard and very important standard, I would say. I just let me provide a background about the chapter first. Okay. Quality control. When I talk about quality control, it encompasses two very important standards. Plus, there are other things that we will be discussing in summary. But the major part of the quality control will be first SQC1. Okay, SQC1, and second SA220. SQC1, SA220 are the two major standards which are there for the quality control related things. Now, let's understand why this is necessary, why the quality control standards are there. Okay. And why we need to focus on quality control. What quality control, and some more details about this topic before we get involved and understand the requirements of these two standards. Basically, when I talk about quality control, okay, quality control is necessary for me as a charter accountant when I'm delivering my work. Quality control kinds of makes that, okay, whatever work I'm giving to you, whatever work I'm delivering should be of a quality. Remember, in professional ethics, we understood 5 fundamental principles, okay, that were necessary to comply with. And one such principle was professional competency and due care, like acting diligently in accordance with the technical professional standards, plus professional behaviors, like to comply with the laws and regulations and everything. Okay, that's a one of kind of a fundamental principle. Now, why these principles and conceptual frameworks are there? Because we can provide a quality service. We can provide a service which is reliable. We can provide a service which is, beneficial, and where people can have trust in our service. Same goes with the quality control. So when I'm issuing an opinion, I am issuing the opinions in order to provide, okay, in order to comply with my duties which are prescribed under the law. Let's say when company said there is a duty on me to express an opinion, but the duty is to express independent opinion. Now, if in order to provide an independent opinion, I have to comply with certain things. And in order to provide an independent opinion, I need to perform some work also, like audit work, checking and everything. And that should be of that quality so that people can rely upon my opinion. Today, if I'm signing a document, I should say, okay, this is after performing the quality work that I have done. And now you can rely. That is the importance of the quality. Quality builds the trust in your work. And that's why there are two important standard, SQC1, SA220, which talks about quality. Now you will think, why we need a standard for a quality? Okay, we have to deliver the work. I will deliver the work with quality. I'll perform the work with quality. Why I need a standard? Why to bring standard into a picture? Now the reason I'm bringing standard into a picture is reason because that standard guides you that how to maintain a quality. Let's say, for example, at times you might miss out of 5 items, you miss out one item where you did not maintain a quality, or you missed out something. So there could be a scenario, okay, we might missed out this thing in one audit, we might have missed out that thing, something another in another audit. In that case, quality control standards helps us in order to maintain quality consistently throughout all the professional services, because they are kind of a guiding path, okay, how to maintain the quality. And if you follow that guiding path, you will consistently follow the quality requirement. Okay, that is a scenario, and that's why these standards are necessary. Now you will say, why two standards? Why we have two different standards, SQC1 and SA220? And the reason for the same is their name. The reason of having two different standards is their name, basically. SQC1 talks about quality control for firms that performs audit and reviews of historical financial information and other assurance related service engagement. So this is quality control for firms that performs audit and review of FS also, and other assurance and related service. So if a firm is performing audit or review of financial statement or other assurance and related services, in that case, the SQC1 creates a guiding path for them. So that's why it's a quality control for firms. When I talk about 220, it talks about quality control for an audit of financial statement. Now, this standard is applicable at the firm level. This standard is applicable at the engagement level. And this is only applicable to a particular engagement. This is applicable to the firm providing audit and other related services. So this is SQC1 is a wider in approach, targeting and guiding the firms. SA220 on the other hand is providing you a guiding path when you are doing the audit. Okay, so there is a difference between both. Now, let us understand SQC1 first, and then we will jump on to SA220 later on. Okay. Now, SQC1 basically talks about audit of quality control for firms. And in that case, SQC1 has prescribed some details that are required to be followed in order to provide the quality. So SQC1 basically, you can say, has or provides information and monitoring on 5 different areas, 5 different elements. SQC1 basically addresses 5 different elements in firm. You can say kind of a critical elements in firm, which are there, which for which we are required to have some quality control policies and procedures, which are 5 different elements. First is leadership responsibilities for quality. Or you can say leadership. Second is ethical requirement in firm. Third is acceptance and client continuance. Okay, of client relationship and specific engagements. Human resource, engagement performance, and there is one more element. Upon all, you can kind of say, that is monitoring. To monitor everything within the firm itself, to provide the quality of the monitoring each and every element and all the elements. Okay, so kind of 6, but I say 5 and 1, like this way. Okay, 5 plus 1. Now, why these elements are there? So these are elements, kind of. And what these elements are, basically these elements are, where the quality control policies and procedures should be there. So quality controls and policies should be present in those areas at least, or for those areas. In other words, if I have to say that the firm's quality control Okay, system should address or include policies and procedures about the above mentioned 6 areas. Elements or areas. So the quality control system of a firm should include these policies and procedures about the 6 elements. And this is the minimum required by the SQC1. So this is minimum required kind of. Okay. If you understand these policies and procedures that are required at minimum for these each and every element, you will understand the SQC1. So SQC1 specifies area by area, like these 6 elements, element by element, what policies, procedures you should have within the firm in order that your firm is, appropriate, your firm has a good quality control system. Okay. Now, the question comes is why these, uh, is that only the thing that I need to do in the quality control? Answer is no. As per the SQC1, the objective is that the firm should establish a system of quality control and provide it with a reasonable assurance that the firm and its personnel comply with the professional, regulatory, and legal requirement, and that report issued by the firm or engagement partner are appropriate in the circumstances. Again, very good thing. That is the requirement of SQC1. What is the requirement? I'll just write it here. Understand the thing. Requirement of SQC1. The firm established a system of quality control designed to provide with a reasonable assurance. In a simple terms, if I say that if you are opening a firm, let's say for example, hypothetical example, I'll say, okay, there is my firm, ABC and Company. This is my firm. Okay, I have 3 different partners in my firm. Mr. C, Mr. B, and Mr. A. Now you will ask where I am. So I am managing partner. Okay, managing partner. And I have 3 different partners under me. Now, each partner has a team of 10 different people. Okay, team of 10. Now let's suppose say you are one of the partners. You are Mr. B. Okay, you are one of the partners, Mr. B. Now I have the firm. I started the firm. Okay, let's do audit. Let's provide service to the client. Let's go from tomorrow in the market. We'll go in the market. We'll provide the service to the clients. We'll start doing auditing. As a managing partner, how can I get comfort that one of your team member out of the 10, okay, one of your team member or any one of your team member out of those 10 are appropriately, updated with respect to the professional requirements. Let's say, for example, listed entity. How many of you are aware of insider trading? How many of you are aware of the insider trading? Okay. Now let's say Mr. B is performing audit, or you are performing audit of a company that is XYZ Limited. This is a listed entity. Okay. Now out of these 10, let's say for example, there is one person, Binod. Now this Binod person has, after while doing the audit, he identified, okay, company has made tremendous profit in this quarter. Okay, what he did is he called his friend, buy 10 shares for me, you also buy 10 shares. So he bought 10 shares of XYZ Limited after seeing unpublished information. Okay. After seeing unpublished information, he bought 10 shares worth of rupees, hypothetical, worth of rupees 75,000. Do you think this is correct? Do you think everyone should do this? Do you think this is the correct way that Binod has done, Mr. Binod, that he has bought 10 shares worth of rupees 75,000 after seeing that, the company is going to make good profit in this quarter, or the quarterly report or the quarterly information that is going to be published will have good profit? What do you think? No. Correct, Vanshika. Very good. That is not correct. Okay. That is not correct. Correct. But if this is not correct, I know this is not correct. How Mr. Binod should come to know if this is not correct? Who will tell to him? Like, okay, suddenly he will not get, something in his mind. Oh, I should not do this. There should be something that should tell him that, okay, please don't do this. Please don't do this. There should be something, no, in the picture. From tomorrow, if you start working with a firm, what are do's and don'ts? How will you come to know if someone is not telling you? So, what do you think? Who should tell Mr. Binod? Or how Mr. Binod should come to know that he is not required to do trading in the shares for which he is auditing? Let's say he is intern, he is article, first year article. He is first year article with, as of now, he has no experience in the audit of a listed entity. So, he is not aware about the laws and regulations. How he will come to know about this? Tell me. How he will come to know about this? What should be done in this scenario so that Mr. Binod should be aware that please do not trade in these shares? Come on, guys, what you will do? Okay, you are Mr. B or you are at my place, managing partner. What you will do to ensure that, okay, Mr. Binod is not trading in the shares of the company that he is auditing? And understand, like, I am keeping you on my position. Let's say you are managing partner of the firm. Tomorrow you started a firm. You have 100 employees within you. Some of them are, articles. Some of them are paid assistants. Some of them are partners. How will you make sure that the articles within the firm are not doing this? How do you communicate to them? Absolutely correct, Mohammed. I'll draft the rules. Okay, I'll draft the rules. I will guide Mr. Binod with respect to standards. I'll provide him the guidance. But providing the guidance and setting out the rules. Okay. Providing the guidance to Mr. Binod. Please don't do that. Plus setting rules for larger public in the firm. Okay. Together is nothing but policies and procedures for quality control. Is nothing but the policies and procedures for quality control. That is the only thing standard asking you to set up a policies and procedures so that each and everyone within the firm should be aware what to do. Today, you are aware as a managing partner, you are not required to trade in the shares of XYZ Limited. But a first year article, how he will come to know if you don't have a policy and procedure for the quality control? And that's the thing the standard is requiring to do. Set out in the firm for at least these 5 elements: leadership, ethical requirement, acceptance and client continuance, human resource, engagement, performance, and monitoring. Set out some policies so that when the firm is providing the service, okay, when the firm is providing the service, it should have a system of quality control which provides that the personnel within the firm comply with the professional, regulatory, and legal requirements. And the reports which are issued are appropriate. So let's say, for example, in this case, after buying 10 shares, Mr. Binod buys another 50 shares. Let's say, for example, a hypothetical example. Let's say hypothetical example. After buying 10 shares, he also bought, let's say, 50 shares. Okay. Now, together of this makes, hypothetical example, or let's say he bought 500 shares. Together of this makes, let's say, okay, for example, 20% holding. Or he bought, let's say, 50,000 shares. He sold his house and everything, after selling his house, all the property that he had, everything he sold out. After seeing, the company is making so much of profit, he sold everything and he bought 50,000 shares, which made 20% holding in the company. This will make me disqualified from providing the service. If he reached the level of 20% holding, this will make me disqualified from providing the service. I will be disqualified. So, in that case, my report, let's say, for example, if he doesn't tell me this information and if he audits, there's a self-interest threat. I am a disqualified auditor because one of my team member is holding 20%. And there is someone in my firm who is holding 20% in the company. This could result, in disqualification. And if still I'm issuing an audit report in this scenario, my audit report is not appropriate. My audit report will not comply with the relevant requirements. And that's the standard is asking you that make sure that whatever reports are issued by the firm or the engagement partners are appropriate in the circumstances. It should not happen that in your company, any Binod, or in your firm, any Binod is buying 50,000 shares, making 20% holding of your client. Clear? I hope you got the understanding and, good understanding of the standard basically. Any doubt with respect to this? With respect to understanding that we have received about the standard? Any doubt, guys?
Any doubts? Okay. If no doubts, what we do is we'll take a small break of 10 minutes, and after the break, we'll gather back and we'll continue SQC1 for further discussion. Okay? Let's take a small 10-minute break. Ayazji, Hello everyone, welcome back. Okay, so let's continue with the topic of SQC1. Okay, now as we were discussing with respect to SQC1, that uh, what is the requirement basically over here? Okay, we understood with an example to set out the principle and policy. So the requirement of SQC1, the basic requirement, the first requirement is the firm should establish a system of quality control. Okay, the firm should establish a system of quality control. Now what this system should do is, system should provide with reasonable assurance, system should provide with the reasonable assurance that the firm and its personals, that the firm and its personals, like Mr. Binod, okay, comply with professional, regulatory and legal requirements, professional standards, legal and regulatory requirements, plus that the reports issued by firm or engagement partners okay are appropriate. Only these things, that is the requirement of SQC, and we will understand how to do that. See, SQC1 requires you to that the firm should establish a system of quality control that provides a reasonable assurance. Means your system, which is incorporated or which is within your firm, to stop Binod from purchasing 50,000 shares of a company, should provide a reasonable assurance, not the absolute. That your system should not be, you should not design like, your target should not be that, okay, I should get 100% compliance, not even a single percent thing should go wrong in my firm. System quality control standards saying you provide me reasonable assurance, that is sufficient, that you have implemented the policies and procedures for the quality control, your personnel and firm are complying to the professional standards, legal and regulatory requirements, and your reports are appropriate. That's it. So that's why the reasonable assurance word is repeated over and over during the standard, and we will see how and what impact it carries. Clear? Any doubt? Okay. Now, when I come to these 5 principles, okay, what these 5 principles, like what I need to do in these 5 principles, that I need to understand. So, till now, what we were understanding is that, okay, we had to set up those policies and procedures, fine. But now, what these policies and procedures should provide, that we need to understand. In these 5 categories, what these policies and procedures should provide, that is something we need to understand. Now let's come to the first element or area or where we need to have a policy and procedure. The first area is leadership responsibility for quality within the firm. What SQC1 says? Okay, SQC1 says that, okay, you need to have some policies and procedure for quality control and leadership responsibility area. Okay, now let's understand with this example. Okay, now in the case of Vinod, the manager, the engagement partner, okay, should set an example here. Mr. B here should ensure that Vinod is not doing anything which is incorrect, or Mr. B should set example that these kind of scenarios, if you are trading, if you are doing anything which is against the policy, will be taken strictly. And if still Mr. Vinod does that and Mr. B does not stop him, or he's not stopping him, in that case, I, the managing partner, has to set example. Okay, that non-compliance will not be tolerated. Okay, so at various phases, not only B but manager, partner, managing partner, each and everyone has to set example that non-compliance is not a choice. Okay, you don't have a choice for making non-compliances. You have to comply with the professional, legal requirements, ethical requirements, regulatory requirements. And can I say that I am the managing partner, but I am not responsible for whatever Vinod is doing? Can I say that? No, I cannot say that. I have to be responsible for whatsoever has been done by Mr. Vinod. Ultimately, I am responsible. Managing partner is responsible. Managing partner of the firm is responsible. Okay. For whatever action has been done by any of the team member. Tomorrow, NFRA, SEBI will not go to Mr. Vinod. Why you bought the shares? He would say, my partner never told me. I was not aware of that. In that case, I am responsible because I am signing the audit report. I am the managing director of the firm. If I am the signing partner, then signing partner, EQCR, and all those people will be responsible rather than someone from the team. That's why SQC1 says that the firm should establish the firm should establish policies and procedures. Okay. Now, these policies and procedures should be designed to promote an internal culture based on the recognition that the quality is essential. So, designed to promote an internal culture okay, internal culture specifying or you kind of demonstrating that quality is essential. And when I'm saying quality is essential, at what particular point in time? While performing engagements. You can say kind of when now. So policy and procedure designed to promote an internal culture that what it should promote, that demonstrating the quality is essential. It should promote that quality is essential, and when? While performing the engagement. Okay. And how I can demonstrate that? By designing a policies and procedures. By designing policies and procedures, I can demonstrate what I need to demonstrate is quality is essential. And when that quality is essential, while performing the engagement. So if you bifurcate anything in these five terms, what, when, how, and all these things, why, so you will get the answer for the question that or for any of the topic. Okay. Now, moreover, such policies and procedures such policies and procedure should require the the firm's chief executive officer, CEO or equivalent, okay, or managing partners. What it should require to assume ultimate responsibility. Ultimate responsibility. But when they should assume ultimate responsibility? Or for what? For the firm systems quality control. For the firm's system of quality control. Simple, like I'm talking about managing partners who are responsible, managing partner and CEO of the firm, and for what they are responsible for firm system of quality control. Okay, for what they are responsible for firm system of quality control. So managing partner has to assume the ultimate responsibility and with respect to the firm system of quality control. That is the first thing, leadership requirement or responsibility. So SQC 1 says that whatever you draft, whatever policy you should draft, that should be in line with this. That should be in line with this. Simple. Any doubt? Any doubt? Are you getting what we are discussing over here? Yes, no, anything? Are you getting, guys, what we are discussing over here? No? Okay, good. Thank you, Salish, Vanshika, Charu. Good, okay. Now, this is the thing that partner ultimately responsible, managing partner, and they policies and procedures demonstrating the quality while performing the engagement. Okay. Now, let's say, for example, in big companies, big firms, and in big organizations, everyone has the uh, you know kind of, you can say, habit of delegating. Delegate without delegation, no organization can survive. So you will find delegation. Okay, delegation of authority, delegation of responsibility. They delegate. So let's say, for example, some if a manager gets some work, they delegate it to assistant manager or seniors that, oh, you perform the work. So delegation kind of. From starting, the delegation is there. Okay, from day one, the delegation happens. For example, articles are sent to take out the prints. They delegate the work for the printing and all those things for delegation. Okay. However, okay, like they should not be, just kept for that purpose. You should get appropriate learning. I'm not saying that is correct. Okay, so don't take me on that way. But having said that, when the concept of the delegations comes into the picture, okay, in that case, delegation will happen for these areas also, quality control. Okay, I'll delegate. I'm managing partner. I'll say, okay, now from tomorrow, Mr. C, you are the partner in the firm. I'll make you specifically quality control partner. So, in my earlier example, instead of, let's say for a hypothetical example, instead of Mr. C, I brought someone else. I brought, let's say, Mr. whosoever. Okay. So, I brought Mr. Let's say X. I asked Mr. X. Now, Mr. X is partner for quality control. Good title, partner for quality control. But what Mr. X is done, Mr. X is, if I talk about qualifications of Mr. X, so with respect to the qualifications, he is BCom graduate and he's fresher. That's it. He's a BCom graduate and he's a fresher. And I made him partner for quality control responsible for the whole firm. Do you think this is good? Do you think this is good? What do you say? What do you say? Do you think it is good that I made him partner for quality control? Is it appropriate? Munish, why is it not appropriate? So whosoever is giving answer no, just provide me a reason. Why do you think it's not appropriate? Quality control partner for quality control should have some experience, right? Correct. Absolutely correct, Munish. So he should have some experience. Okay. Now we understand this logic. Okay, he's made a. I'm making him a partner. He should have some experience. Basic thing I should have. What managing director I am, managing partner I am. But that's the basic thing, and the logic is being required by the standard. Standard saying same thing. What standard saying? That any person assigned operational responsibility for firm's quality control system by chief executive officer or managing board or partners should have sufficient and appropriate experience and ability and the necessary authority to assume the responsibility. So, any person assigned operational responsibility of what? Operational responsibility of firm's quality control system okay. Now assigned by CEO or managing partner okay, this person should have sufficient appropriate experience. Sufficient and appropriate experience plus ability okay, to undertake this responsibility. So any person that is assigned the responsibility regarding what? Firm's quality control. Okay. So when a person has been assigned the operational responsibility regarding firm's quality control system, then he should have sufficient and appropriate experience and ability. And when the responsibility is assigned by CEO and managing director. Okay. Simple. Nothing difficult. Exactly. Mr. X will not be able to take the responsibility. He doesn't have a knowledge. I am not a good managing partner. So that is something we need to understand over here. That the system of quality control is something already based on the logic. Clear? Any doubts? Any doubts? Okay. No? Let me proceed further. The next area that I want to discuss is his ethical requirement. So the second element. This was the first element, leadership. Now the second element is ethical requirement. So let's understand what is required by the standard with respect to ethical requirement. Ethical requirement basically talks about that the firm's policies and procedure are designed or should be there that they should provide comfort with respect to the ethical requirements, relevant ethical requirements. I'll tell you where. With an example. Let's say again, I am managing partner and I have a partner under me, Mr. B. Mr. B has a person, Mr. Vinod. So he is a partner. I am managing partner and he is kind of manager, audit manager. Okay, fine. Now Mr. Vinod started doing audit. Okay. And while performing the audit, he did three things. While doing the audit, he performed three things. Number one, called his friend. Okay. Mr. You can say anyone, called his friend Mr. X and provided him information, okay, regarding new upcoming car that is yet to be launched by company. Okay. So let's say he is auditing car company. Manager for auditing car company. So he was auditing car company. He called his friend, "Hey, Mr. H, don't buy now a car. Wait for some time because this company is going to launch a new car. I just now went through some of their plans and the things and their upcoming projects while doing the audit. So wait for some time." Mr. X said, "Okay, fine, I'll wait. No issues." Plus, he told Mr. X that what you do is you do not buy this car because the company is facing a lot of issues in this car. So he disclosed some of unpublished issues of company's car. Okay, fine, good. He saved the friend at the end. Like Mr. X is now saved by his friend Mr. Vinod. Okay. Second, what he did. Okay. He was again like he knew that company is going to launch new car, so the share prices are. So he bought 100 shares of the company. 100 shares of the company worth of, let's say, rupees 1 lakh, or let's say 1,20,000. Third, what he did, he found an misstatement in dealer discount. He went to the sales representative or sales officer, discussed, he went to the sales officer and asked, sales officer that he will not report this misstatement if he is willing to give 10% discount on car to him. If he can provide 10 to 15% discount on car value to him, then he will not report the issue. And sales rep agreed, sales officer agreed. You might be thinking, what wonderful person he is, Mr. Vinod. Okay, now he did these three things. Okay, tell me with your experience or whatever we have discussed, what issues he has created by doing these three things. Where the problem, which type of problem he has created by doing these three things. What kind of problem? Unless you are a friend of Mr. Vinod. What kind of problem Mr. Vinod has created? And if you guys are interested to hire him, I can send his CV to you guys also. So, just kidding. I understand what he has done in these three scenarios. What problem he has created? Tell me. What problem he has created in 1, 2, and 3 scenario? Come on, guys. Insider information given by him. Okay, good. What else? What else? He has entered into an unethical practice of blackmailing the company. Not company, I would say, yeah, but he's blackmailing. He's blackmailing in the current case. He's blackmailing the sales officer to get the discount. Dishonest, break confidentiality, auditor will not fulfill ethical requirement. Absolutely correct, Charu. See, in professional ethics, when we were discussing professional ethics, we discuss about integrity. We discuss about honest objectivity. Okay. Confidentiality. We discuss about some fundamental principles that the auditor should have. Okay. The auditor should have these fundamental principles: integrity, objectivity, confidentiality, and all those things. I could say, while performing the act, he somehow broke confidentiality. While performing the act number 2, he has impaired his objectivity. While performing the act number 3, he broke his integrity. He impaired the integrity. 3 basic fundamental principles were destroyed by the act of Mr. Vinod. Yes. And in that case, I could say he has not complied with the ethical requirements. Now, what could have been done is we could have guided him that, friend, don't do this. If you want discount, please go and talk to dealer. Don't do blackmailing. Okay. And do not disclose about the confidential information of the company to your friend. I know he's your best friend, but please, this is profession, this is friendship. Separate. Same way, do not buy shares of company for which you are auditing. It could impair your objectivity. It could create self-interest threat. Why don't you understand that? And if you don't understand, please go from this firm. So either I have to guide him, or either I have to, mitigate the threats to fundamental principles, kind of. But when I say I have to guide him, how will I guide him? I have to guide him by that I can say that, the firm or the managing partner. Because when I say firm, ultimately the managing partner or the chief operating EO, executive officer of the firm is responsible. So I could say that the firm should establish policies and procedures. Okay, what they should establish? Policies and procedures. And what these policies and procedures should do is they should be designed to provide reasonable assurance. They should be designed to provide reasonable assurance. About what? About that the firm and its personnel comply with relevant ethical requirements. Simple. Which are the relevant ethical requirements which are enumerated in the code of ethics. So the firm should establish what they should establish: policies and procedures. Okay. And what these policies and procedures should do? They should provide a reasonable assurance. What these policies, shall write PNP, should do is that they should provide a reasonable assurance. Reasonable assurance regarding what? That the firm and its personnel should comply with what? What should they comply? Is relevant ethical requirements. Clear? Any doubt? Simple, pretty simple. There is nothing difficult. Understanding by example and to example, by code to code. That's it. I'm just, understanding, you can say by, to example. That's it. Now, that is an ethical requirement. But ethical requirement says that, for example, what you should do when you, let's say, for example, you identify these kind of scenarios, or let's say, for example, what ethical requirements can, the policy also goes a step ahead and says that what are these ethical requirements basically. So, SQC1 says that the firm policies and procedures should be emphasizing the fundamental principles. And how can we bring the fundamental principles and compliance with these policies and procedures? By creating policies regarding leadership, education training, monitoring, process for dealing with non-compliance. Like for example, in case of Mr. Vinod, we need to either educate him. Okay, so policies regarding, you can say, these policies and procedures should emphasize sorry, these policies and procedures should emphasize on first leadership, that we have already discussed. Second, education training, that we need to educate Mr. Vinod, please don't do this. Education and training. Third, monitoring, that if he is still doing, we need to monitor that he should not do. Okay, first, we need to talk about leadership. Leadership, please guide Mr. Vinod. Second, education and training, please educate Mr. Vinod and train Mr. Vinod. Third, now you have trained Mr. Vinod, now monitor, he should follow continuously whatever you have trained. Fourth, what if he doesn't follow? Then there should be a process for dealing non-compliance. Okay, so the policy should define who is the responsible, who is the leader responsible for this particular ethical requirements. He has the ultimate responsibility to guide Mr. Vinod. Now, what should be guided, in what frequency, when we should be guiding Mr. Vinod, or the training should be conducted every month, every year, 6 monthly. What should be taught in the training? What should be provided in the training? Okay, let's say for example, I'm conducting training. You have to follow ethical requirements. That's it. So let's say for example, I'm taking a training on ethical requirements. I go in the training, I say, everyone has to follow ethical requirements. That's it. Is this training or the statement sufficient in education and training? Answer is no. Even if I'm, explaining to you, I have to explain with example. If I say, okay, SQC1 talks about independence, ethical requirement, leadership, monitoring, this, that, those, that, done. Is it sufficient? No. So what should be the content of education and training? How it should be imparted? At what frequency? Okay, what should be the correct audience with respect to the relevant material that should be discussed? Monitoring. Once you have provided the training, the monitoring is required, whether the person is complying with the requirements of the training, or the things you have spoken about. And even after he is not complying, after providing education and training, then what is the procedure for non-compliance, dealing with the non-compliance? That is something to be discussed. So all these things should be contained in your policies and procedures. Okay. Now, another part of the ethical requirement comes into picture is independence. Okay. When I say my objectivity was impaired, I was not independent. I was no longer the independent. And independence is such an important thing that we also write in the first word of our audit report. Independent auditor's report. It's so important that we start our audit reports title with the independent. See, so it is of such importance in nature. Now, because it is so much important, there are additional things prescribed in the SQC1 with regards to independence. What SQC 1 says with respect to independence requirement? Same, pretty much. First thing is pretty much same, that the firm should establish policies and procedure designed to provide with reasonable assurance that the firm and personnel, where applicable, are subject to who are subject to independence requirement, okay, are maintaining independence where required by the code. Means that here, if I say ethical requirements, this ethical requirement includes my independence requirement, including independence requirement. Okay. However, for independence, the policy SQC 1 says, please provide these additional details in your policy and procedure. Okay. What it says that with respect to the independence requirement, do these things. One, communicate, okay, the independence requirement to relevant person like Mr. Vinod. Communicate to him what are the independence requirement. Provide him the details with respect to that. Second, identify and evaluate the circumstances that create threat to independence. Identify and evaluate the circumstances that create threat to independence. Okay. So can I say this is something similar to education and training that we have already seen in our ethical requirements? So something education and training related, but specifically for independence. Can I say this is similar to monitoring for non-compliance? Then what? Then the policy says that the SQC 1 says that engagement partner provide the firm with relevant information about client engagement. Now, engagement partners have to provide about client engagement, including scope of service, to enable the firm overall impact on any independence requirement. Means simple. If Mr. Vinod is doing something, then the engagement partner, that is Mr. B in the scenario. Okay. If Mr. Vinod is doing something, then his partner B should inform either to managing partner or to firm that Vinod has done something which is incorrect. Okay. Now you take the action. So it is the responsibility of partner to communicate. Same way, quality control policy says that engagement partner has to provide information. Engagement partner, okay, has to provide relevant information okay, about client engagement, including scope of service. About client engagement and scope of service. So that the firm can evaluate the impact on independence. So that the firm can evaluate the impact on independence. Means that, let's say, for example, in this case, I'll tell you a hypothetical example, okay, other than this one. Let me add a page. Okay. Let's say I am managing partner, Mr. Harshad. Okay, of ABC and company. I have three partners. One is Mr. C, tax partner, taxation partner. One is Mr. B, audit partner. And one is Mr. A. I have kept it for the quality control. Quality control partner. Small firm. Okay, not a big firm. Now, Mr. B is approaching a client that is XYZ Limited for stat audit. However, Mr. C is already providing taxation advisory service to XYZ Limited. Okay, so he is already providing taxation advisory service to XYZ Limited. Now, how Mr. B will come to know about this thing? How Mr. B will come to know about this particular service? How Mr. B will come to know? Any suggestions from you guys? How Mr. B will come to know about this particular information? Any suggestions? Service is being provided by Mr. C. So Mr. C will be aware. But how Mr. B will aware about this? Will get to know about this. Come on, guys. Let's say you are Mr. B. You are going to pitch for an audit to a XYZ limited company, listed company. How will you come to know that Mr. C, some other partner in your firm, is already providing taxation service to this client? Okay, Mohammed, free flow of information. Good. So there should be free flow of information in the organization. Correct. Anyone else? Anything else to add? Anyone else? No? Okay. So, free flow of information means that there should be some common list. Okay. What are the client for which category? So it should contain name of the client that Mr. C should answer. Okay, I am providing this kind of service to this company. And Mr. B, before going to XYZ Limited, he can check this common list. Okay, now this common list should be with the firm. So as and when Mr. C gets some work, then it could be the scenario. Okay, Mr. C should update the list, and then Mr. B should go and check the list from time to time. Okay, and timely updation. Then only Mr. B will be able to check on a real-time basis whether he can provide the service to XYZ of statutory audit or not. Same way, my SQC1 is also saying in the same line. What SQC1 is saying that you provide the detail about the client engagement and the scope of service to firm in a common list so that the firm can evaluate the impact on the independence. When I say the firm means any partner who is going to provide any service to anyone else, he can evaluate the impact on independence before starting the service. So engagement partner has to provide relevant information. If the state auditor was the first to give the service to XYZ, then he should enter into the list. And when Mr. C is going to provide taxation service, then he should check. So this should work so that the independence requirement can be checked from time to time. Plus, personals have to promptly notify the firm circumstances and relationship that create threat to independence. So, personal to promptly notify. Who is a personal in our case? Mr. Vinod. He has to promptly notify that notify the circumstances that create threat to independence. And what are those circumstances? In our example, the 3x or kind of 3 disclosures or X Mr. Vinod made. So 3x that Mr. Vinod carried are the circumstances that create threat to the independence. Now, then the policy says that please submit the information to the appropriate person, means in the common list being maintained by the firm, or if there is a quality control partner, then why we have a partner, then provide the information to the partner or quality control department or personnel so that they can have that information readily available with them and they can provide to anyone within the firm. That is accumulation, and communication. Accumulate the information and communication of the relevant information to personnel, which will include the partner also from time to time. Okay. So that the firm and its personnel can readily determine whether they satisfy the independence requirement, whether they need to update the records, or whether they need to take appropriate action. So 3 things to be done after accumulation and communication. Determine whether satisfying independence requirement. Second, maintain and update the record if required. Third, take appropriate actions against Mr. Vinod or any such personnel or any such circumstance. Not against, I'll say regarding. Take appropriate actions regarding threats to independence. So you need to accumulate and communicate of communication of the relevant information to personals to determine whether they satisfy independence criteria, maintain and update the record if required, and take appropriate action regarding threats to independence. So that should be there in the independence requirement or the policy and procedure regarding the independence requirement. So you can say minimum to be included in policy and procedure of regarding independence requirement. Clear? Any doubt? So there is one question difference between SQC1 and SA220. See, as of now, you will not understand the difference because I haven't studied SA220. I am dealing with the SQC1. When I will start SA220, at that particular point in time, I'll tell you the difference point by point. What are the differences between both of them? And at that particular point in time, it will be very helpful for you to understand the difference between SQC1 and SA220. In SQC1, as of now, whatever I am discussing, I'm discussing from the viewpoint of personal, firm, partners, people. Okay. When I will discuss SA220, I'll talk about audit of financial statement. So we'll see that also. But as of now, I'm talking on the larger scale. It will include everything, every kind of work. I'm discussing taxation, I'm discussing audits, I'm discussing other services. So I'm discussing everything. Clear? Any doubt with respect to this? So ethical requirement contains two things. One with respect to the core ethical requirement. Second, ethical requirement with relation to the independence. Clear? Plus, there are some mandatory requirements for independence. I'll call it mandatory. Mandatory requirements regarding independence. Now, what are these? Which is first, the SQC1 says at least annually. the firm should obtain written confirmation okay of written confirmation of compliance with its policies and procedures of independence okay from all the firm personnel from all the firm personnel okay so take at least annually take a confirmation. This is mandatory. So take at least annually a confirmation with respect to the firm's requirement, that you comply with the firm's requirement. Okay. Second, so it talks about setting up familiarity threads. Means if a person is being on the same assignment for more than some years, then there are chances that it creates a familiarity thread with the person and the audit client. So let's say for example you are auditing a particular client since last 7 years, 8 years. It may happen that it is creating a familiarity thread, that you are now so much familiar with the client and all its personnel that it may create a familiarity thread. So accordingly, sorry. So for familiarity thread, because that is very necessary. For familiarity thread, okay, firm should set some safeguards okay to bring that thread at an acceptable level. To bring the thread to an acceptable level when using senior personnel, same senior personnel on an assurance engagement for longer period of time. Okay. So if that is the case, then they should set some safeguard to bring the thread at acceptable level. Now, for audits of financial statement of listed entities requiring rotation of the engagement partner after a specified period, in compliance with the code, means they should set mandatory rotation of the partners. Okay. So, for example, for listed entities, mandatory rotation of engagement partner at least uh, mandatory rotation of engagement partner after 7 years at minimum, means maximum he can serve 7 years. within 7 years. So you have to shift, or an engagement partner should not serve a particular engagement, a particular client or assurance engagement for more than 7 years. Okay. So there should be a rotation within 7 years itself. He should not serve more than 7 years, kind of. For listed entity, mandatory of engagement partner within 7 years. Oh, sorry, mandatory rotation. Mandatory rotation of engagement partner within 7 years. So that is a mandatory requirement for independence. Any doubt? Any doubt, guys? No? Okay. If no doubts, you're clear with till this point, okay? Whatever we have discussed in the SQC1. Now, in the next lecture, I will continue SQC1 and SA220. But remember, please read in advance the SQC1, because in next lecture, it is on the similar line. The way I have explained the examples now to set the base, it will be on the similar line. So I will be, to avoid repetition of, the same examples and base, I will be, carry forwarding the topics like acceptance and continuance, human resource, and performance engagement in much more detail. Okay, so that was to set the base of the SQC1 today. So that's why please read in the next lecture well before about the SQC1, its requirement, so that for us it will be easy to discuss and solve the questions. Same for SA220. Okay, guys. And keep a habit of reading after the session, if possible immediately. If not, then within the same day. The topic that we discussed. Sure, Sika, definitely. Okay. So, if no further questions, then thank you, guys. Thank you for participating in today's lecture. I will see you in the next lecture and we will discuss and continue the topic. Thank you.